Alright, welcome. Geometry 9-3 rotations. Oops, let me use this pencil. 9-3 rotations. So we're going to look at the center of rotation. This is the point that the object rotates around. Alright, so now we're going to do a couple examples here. We're going to draw some rotations. So draw a rotation. Here's an example. So let's see, we're going to do, we are going to start with a triangle right here. And this is triangle A, B, C. And this point right here is K. This is going to be our center of rotation. And we are going to rotate this thing from here all the way over to here. Now, we're going to approximate 140 degrees. So I'm going to start with this C, point C, and I'm going to draw a line right here. And this might be helpful if you have a ruler, but I'm assuming that maybe you don't have a ruler right now. So we're just going to kind of estimate this stuff. And so I've got this segment here from K to C. And then I'm going to say 140 degrees is like, here's about 90, and then another about half of that to get to 140. So I'm going to say 140 is about like this. So this is my angle that's 140 degrees. And then I find this distance should be the same as this distance. So this should be same as this. So there is C prime. Now I just do the same thing for A and B. So if I draw a line here from A, and then I rotate it 140 degrees. So here it's a little bit behind C, so it's going to end up a little bit behind C again. And that distance is from here to way over here. So that's A prime. So this distance from A to K, from A prime to K, is the same distance as K to A. And then same thing with B. There's B. This should be the same distance and 140 degrees, which is going to get me to be about right here. And then this same distance there to there. 1, 2, 3. There's B prime. And then I'm going to draw my new triangle. So your triangle should look the same. I didn't have quite enough room here to get my A far enough away. So here's my new triangle. So A should be back over here somewhere. And there is my image or pre-image. Which one is which? Do you remember? This one is my pre-image. And this one is my image. Okay, let's do another example. And then we'll do some examples on, let's go this way. Yep, all right. We'll do some examples on graph paper in a second too. Okay, example, we're going to rotate this thing 65 degrees. Goodness. All right, and we're going to start with a triangle. And this is RST. And our point of our center of rotation here is K. And we want to rotate this thing 65 degrees. So I'm going to look at this distance here from R to K, and I'm going to say 65 degrees is about like that. And I'm going to take this distance, and this is the same distance here. So now I've got R prime. And then S, I'm going to do the same thing. From there to there is S, and then about 60 degrees is right there. Protractor and a ruler would be super helpful here. I'm just assuming that you don't have the ability to use those right now. So there's S prime. So I've gone 65 degrees. And then, oh, that's more like 30. Oh, well, anyway, we'll just keep going. And then T. And then another 60 degrees to my other T. There we go. And so now this will be T prime. And so here I'm going to connect T prime to R prime and to S prime. And I've rotated this. And I think I wouldn't say this is 60 degrees, 65 degrees. This is more like, what did I do? 40 degrees or something. But the idea is that we've rotated it around this center here. So I'm going to scratch this off. I'm going to say we did 40 degrees. All right. I would say any questions, but you can't really answer them while I'm doing this video. So let's do a U-try. So we're going to do 45 degrees. So we're going to set this up, and then here let's set this up first. So we have something that looks kind of like a trapezoid, and this is JMLK, and K is going to be our center of rotation. Now, I want this to be rotated, I should say, 45 degrees. Now, 45 degrees, that means clockwise, or counterclockwise, sorry. And so we're going to rotate this counterclockwise from the center of rotation. And this is a U-try, and so the way we're going to do the U-try is you're going to pause the video and then try it, and then unpause it, and you can see me work out the example. And you can check your work to see how you did. Unfortunately, I don't have the capability of going to your desk and yelling at you if you did it wrong, and I apologize for that. But hopefully, pretty soon, we'll be able to do that again. All right, so pause. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you paused it and you did this work, and now you're going to check how you did. So I'm going to do L first. So I'm going to say 45 degrees is like half of 90. So if this is 90, 45 is going to be right there. So there's 45. So L, that's about the distance for L prime. And then M, I'm going to look at M. I'm going to go 45 degrees from M, which is probably about right there, that distance, M prime. And then there's J, 45 degrees from J is about right, and then that distance is right there, so there's J prime. And I already got K, right? K is right there, it's not going to move. So let's connect these points. And then fill it in here. There's my image. There's my pre-image. And I have rotated 45 degrees. This shape should look exactly like this shape, just rotated. And it looks pretty close here, right? Okay, hopefully you guys did that one all right. Let's now do one more U-try. Again, after I set it up, I'll tell you to pause it, and then you unpause to see how you did. Okay, I've got a triangle again. And this is triangle ABC. And over here is my center of rotation, K. And I want this to be rotated 75 degrees. All right, so go ahead and pause. Okay, welcome back. Let us rotate this triangle 75 degrees. Let's see how you did. So I'm going to start with C here. So I'm going to draw a line here so I can see that distance. 75 degrees, okay, so that's going to be about like that, right? So this is approximately 75 degrees. And so for C, it's about 75 degrees. Oh, a compass would be nice here too, wouldn't it? All right, C prime. And now for B, we've got about 75 degrees here for B. B prime. Now A is going to be right along that B almost, a little bit behind it. And then there's A. I'm going to connect these guys. And there we have it. So it should look like it just rotated that direction. This is the image. This is the pre-image. These should be the exact same size and the same shape. If we were to do this exactly with with proper tools, then you would see that. And then when we go to the coordinate plane in a minute, we'll do some examples that way too. Now we're going to we're gonna write a little bit down here at the bottom of your notes, and then we're going to do some examples on the coordinate plane. Just 2 examples on the coordinate plane. So hopefully you have some paper like this that was in your packet. If not, let me know, and I can send out some PDFs. I don't know if you have ability to print at home, so you might just I'm not sure how to get you this if you can't print at home. But contact me, let me know if you need help with that. So, but first we're going to write a few things, and then we'll go to that grid paper. So, rotations in coordinate plane at the origin. So so this is important that it's at the origin. So we're gonna learn some kind of tricks here. As long as the rotation, the center of rotation is at the origin, this is all gonna work. If it's not at the origin, then none of this will work. So as long as it's at the origin, these will be fine. So if you have a 90-degree rotation, and here's one of your points, XY for example, then you do a 90-degree rotation on that point, and all you do is you put, you take your Y value, you make it negative, and you put it in for your X value, and you take your X value and make it your Y value. So this would be your new Y value, and this would be your new X value. So here's an example of what that might look like. So if you start with 5, 2, and you rotate it 90 degrees at the origin, then you're going to end up with my Y value, the opposite of my Y value will be my new X value, so -2, and then my X value will be my new Y value. So if I was to rotate this point across the origin, then it would become this point. This would be the pre-image, this would be the image. Let's do one more example. So if I have -3, -4, and I rotate that 90 degrees at the origin, then I take my y value and I change it from negative to positive or positive to negative, and I change that, I put that as my new x value. I take my old x value and make that my new y value. Alright? Now, if this is 180 degree rotation, then if I have my x and my y values, then all I do is I take my old x value and I make it negative. I take my old y value and I make it negative, and I have rotated 180 degrees across the origin. If I do 270 degrees rotation across the origin, then I have x, y as my point. I do my rotation, and I take my y value and I make that my new x value. I take my x value and I make it negative, or I change the sign. If this was negative, it would become positive. This would be my new y value, my new x value, and this would be my new y value. So that's if you are making a rotation across the origin. So there you go. If I was too fast, pause, and write it. Now we're going to do some 2 examples on the coordinate plane, and we'll be done with 9-3. All right, 2 examples on the coordinate plane, and then we will be done with 9-3. So 9-3. There we go. So we're going to start with P, which is 1, 1, Q, which is 4, 5, and R, which is 5, 1. And we're going to rotate it 90 degrees at the origin. So my K point is at the origin. My point of rotation is at the origin. All right, so let's put these points here. So P is 1, 1. Q is 4, 5, 4, 5. And R is 5, 1. I can make that 5 a little bit clearer. 5, 1. So let's connect these points. Oh, R. Okay, so there's my triangle there. Now I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees across the origin. So I'm going to figure out what my new points are going to be before I rotate it. So 90 degrees, I look at my notes here. I take my x value, I put that as my new y value. I take my x value, make that my new y value. Take my y value, change the sign, and that's my new x value. So let's do that for P, Q, and R. And I'll tell you another trick that you can do as well if that's hard to remember. So take my x value, make it my new y value. Take my y value, change the sign, that's my new x value. Now for Q, take my y value, take my x value, make it my new y value. My y value, change the sign, that's my x value. Take my x, which is 5, make it my new y value, take my old y value, make it my new x value after I do the opposite. Now I'll find those points. P prime, these should all be prime, right? P prime is negative 1, 1. Q is negative 5, 4. And R prime is negative 1, 5. Well, I should label those guys too, right? So this is P prime, and this is R prime, and this is Q prime. And then I'm going to shade this in. This is my image. This is my pre-image over here. Now, there's one thing that might be helpful with this, and that is when I look at these just to check to see if it is a rotation at the 90 degree at the axis, this should look the same as this if I were to just tilt the whole thing that way. Where am I? So if I take this and I rotate this like that, it should look exactly the same, 90 degrees. Bop, bop. That's a way to check your work. That also might be a way, if you forget all of this nonsense here of changing X and Y and whatever, you can just keep going like this and you can figure out where do those points go. So I've taken this axis. Sometimes it helps if I look at this X axis here and I say in my mind, now this is my X axis, and I just copy this over. I go to 5, I go up 1, 5 up 1, there's a point, 1, 1, 1, 1, there's a point, and then at 4, 5, and then I just change this, 4, 5. So there's another way to turn this 90 degrees if you can't remember all of that, that stuff that we wrote over here. It's helpful to remember this, but if it's just too much, use another method. Okay, you guys are going to try one now, I think. Yeah, let's have you try one. So let's start with, oh, this one went too, okay. I'm going to write it over here on the side. That's okay. All right, good. So A is -2, 5. B, -1, 1. C, 6, 2. Okay, so I'd like you to rotate this 90 degrees. So this is you try. I'm going to tell you to pause. You do this whole mess, and then we come back and check your work. All right? So pause for the you try. Okay, great. Welcome back. So I'm going to first write out my new points. I'm rotating 90 degrees. So A prime, B prime, and C prime. A, B, C. I'm going to be ready for those in just a second. I want to put all of these points on my, I'm going to plot these points. So A is -2, 5, -2, 5. That's A. B is -1, 1. And C is 6, 2, 6, 2. There's C. I'm going to connect these points. All right. There's my image, my pre-image, sorry. Now I'm going to do my image. So A prime, I'm rotating this 90 degrees, so it's going to go from this one into this one. If I don't remember all that stuff I wrote down on my notes, I can just say, if I'm going to turn this way, then I've got -2, 5 right now. And so if I was to turn this, I would go -2, 5 like this. And that would be A prime. So that's -5, -2. So just like we wrote down on the back, let's see, can you see? Yeah, okay. We took, or in your notes, we took the Y value, we changed its sign, and we put it for X, and we took the X value and we made it negative. -5, -2. All right, let's do B. So B, if I were to turn this sideways, I've got 1, 1, and then I turn it, then I would get -1, -1. It'd be right there. All right, and let's see, let's check that. So that would be B prime. And so I take my Y value, I change its sign, and I make that my new X value. I take my X value, and I make that my Y value. And I've got -1, -1, that's B prime. And now let's do C. So C is in this quadrant. If I rotate it 90 degrees, it'll come into this quadrant. I've got 6, 2, and so if I was to turn this and I go 6, 2, it'd be right here. That's my C prime. Oh, I should write that a little bit better. C prime. And so that would be 2. So that'd be -2. I take my y value, I make it -2, just like I have here, right? And then I also take my x value and I place that in my y for my new y value, and that would be 6. So -2, 6, -2, 6. Look, I did it right without even having to memorize that formula. All right. There I go. I'm going to connect A prime, B prime, C prime. And I'm going to color that in. And I have done my U-try. I have changed this. I've turned this 90 degrees. Excuse me. And that is it for 9-3. Congratulations. Do the homework.